This video is brought to you by Mubi, a curated streaming service dedicated to elevating great cinema from all around the globe. Get a whole month free at Mubi.com/Karsten. Hey everyone, welcome back to What I Watched This Month, August edition. This is my fifth What I Watched in August, and that is terrifying. I started the month with Pono. I haven't seen this since I was a child, so this was basically my first time watching it, and I really loved it. I think as far as story goes, it's pretty tame compared to Miyazaki's other films. I think it's very cute and charming, but it isn't tugging at the heartstrings the way as others do for me. But I do think it's one of his most beautifully animated films. I don't think he has ever worked with color the way he does here. Every frame is breathtaking. Oh, all the ocean stuff is just incredible. It is a wonderful blend of fantasy and realism, and I just simply enjoyed watching it a whole bunch. And I watched Musette. This is one of Robert Bresson's deeper cuts, and I can see why it isn't one of the big boys. Like, there are some moments here and there that I found really beautiful and cinematically rich. The first 20 minutes of this, I thought we were in for another masterpiece, but I thought a lot of the cynical aspects felt like lesser versions of what he's done in other work. I think Alcazar Balthazar takes everything about this and turns it up a notch, so I really couldn't get into this all that much. I thought Musette was kind of a bland, one-noted character. I didn't really care, and I felt bad. Poor Musette just can't catch a break here. Not even in the What I Watched This Month video is she safe. And I watched The Big Heat. This is a Fritz Lang noir, and like M, I found it to be wildly ahead of its time. You would think a noir that questions the rules of its genre and then elevates it would come way later, but this is from 1953. God damn. That's my one gripe with the noir genre, is it often feels like I know where things are going and how they're going to tell those things. And The Big Heat is a rare case of completely throwing you off what you were expecting, and doing so in such a shocking way that still works today. It's a very timeless flick. Then I watched Don't Bother to Knock. I thought this was pretty good. I've been wanting to watch more Marilyn Monroe performances after loving her in Some Like It Hot, and seeing her kind of bring it home in a psychological thriller was really neat. In fact, her performance might have been the best part about the film. I thought the film itself was really engaging for how simple and bare bones it was. Definitely felt like those 76 minutes flew by. And that said, I honestly just wish there was more of it. I feel like it would have stuck with me more than it did if it weren't just 76 minutes. And I rewatched The Umbrellas of Cherbourg, and yeah, still knocks my socks off. Probably one of the best movies I've ever seen in my life. Even with La La Land being the closest thing to properly capture this movie's magic, there has yet to be a movie that can match what this is doing. I think about the colors in this movie so often that I forgot it was a really devastating movie. I completely forgot how sad this was, and it broke me so bad. Then I watched The Last Picture Show. Speaking of bummer movies, I had no idea this was going to be as depressing as it ended up being. I thought it was a movie about the movies, and it's sort of, but not really at all. That feeling of being sad has really lingered with me even weeks later. Just seeing trailer footage as I edit this video makes me miss the experience of watching this. I have this weird nostalgia for these characters and for this time, and that's so strange. As far as movies about growing up go, I think this might be the most accurate. It's funny, you would think the perfect time to watch this would be right out of high school, but I think now that I've grown a little bit more and can reflect on my youth from a distance, I found this to be the perfect time to watch this, as I felt like I was fully on the same wavelength as the film. I hate being an adult, and I hate seeing everything and everyone around me change so rapidly. Things are moving too fast. This is my fifth What I Watched in August video. I'm gonna be done talking about this movie now. And I watched Star 80. This is only my second Bob Fosse film, but man, does Bob make some dark stuff. The way this was edited, occasionally cutting to Paul's disgusting and terrifying solitary scenes, made the whole thing feel like a nightmare. It's controlled, don't get me wrong, but it is a delirious experience, and only seeing certain glimpses of Dorothy made me feel like I was in Paul's shoes more than I wanted to be. It was a terrifying movie. That said, I wish there was more Dorothy. I felt a little unsatisfied with how little the film chooses to explore her character, but I get that that isn't really the story it wants to tell. Just a really terrible time watching this one. Then I watched The General. So yeah, I watched like a lot of sad movies in a row, so I really needed this Buster Keaton movie to cleanse my brain, and it certainly delivered. I was locked into this movie, smiling, giggling, having a good time. Buster Keaton is still such a one-of-a-kind performer. His physicality is just unmatched. It was like watching a wind-up toy just go insane for an hour. I loved it. I really have to watch more Buster Keaton. I know I'll love it. And I watched Only Yesterday. This is an Isao Takahata movie about a woman who takes a trip outside of town, and when doing so begins to have flashbacks to her childhood. A good chunk of this is really just a collection of memories and I guess short stories, which is how I would describe My Neighbors the Yamadas as well. And while there is a lot of comfort and charm with these stories, the deeper into the film you get, the more obvious their ties to the present become. It really becomes pretty moving. Once again, another movie about looking back at your youth and what that younger you would think of the person you've become, and stuff like that just really gets to me, man. Which is a hard feeling to translate onto film and to make an audience care about, but with some really gorgeous animation that invites you into these intimate stories, Takahata manages to make it a pretty gripping film. And I watched The Heartbreak Kid. This is the last Elaine May feature I haven't seen, and oh my god, is it incredible. This is about a man who meets a woman on his honeymoon and immediately regrets his marriage. Because it feels like so often movies romanticize these sort of impulsive romances that leave the other person in the dust, I think it's really refreshing and hilarious to see a film that really paints the guy in this position as a total asswipe. Seriously, I think Charles Grodin plays one of the most unlikable characters I have ever seen on film, and he kills it. He's so good in this movie that it almost feels mean to give him any props because his character is just that unlikable, but man is it a good performance. The whole film is hilarious. Elaine May just has the best sense of humor. Minnesota plays a crucial role in the whole thing. Oh, come on. Of course it's a 5-star film for me. Then I rewatched Passages. Guys, I think it's the movie of the year for me so far. I feel pretty confident in saying that. Even after Barbie and Oppenheimer and Past Lives, this is the one that stuck with me the most and the one I've had the strongest urge to revisit. I still want to watch it again. On a rewatch, I really connected with some of the themes earlier on in the film. The first scene specifically where Tomas makes such a fuss over people going from one floor to another, and then that being like the thing that he goes through the entire film. Ugh, it's so good. It's so sexy. I love it. It's a great movie. Then I watched What's Up, Doc, and I had fun with this. The humor is extremely my thing. I love stupid bits, and this is full of them. It's a very different Peter Bogdanovich movie than The Last Picture Show. I'll say that much. I do think it takes its sweet time wrapping things up to a point where it just got a little tiresome after a while. They did not want to cut anything, and I gotta respect them for that. I just thought there was a handful of things I would have cut personally, but I will probably watch this many more times in my life. Love a screwball comedy, really funny, fun time. And I rewatched Old Boy. Listen, this is a masterpiece. I am such a big fan of Park Chan-wook. He's got respect and the critical acclaim and all that, but I really do think he's one of the best directors working today, and this is proof of that. Who else could make something this dark and disgusting so funny? Who else could make such an unlikable character so human? Who could take such a dense and complicated story and condense it into a very easy to follow 2 hours? It's just a masterclass every way you look at it. Insanely glad I got to see this in a crowd with people who clearly had never seen it before. And if this month wasn't hard enough, then I watched Amour. This is yet again a really depressing movie, maybe the most depressing movie I watched this month, which is saying so much. It's so bleak that at a certain point I got kind of mad at the film. Like, why are you putting us through this? What is to be gained from watching all of this happen? And then the film goes into certain directions near the end that kind of lean into that feeling and made it all click for me. And to explain how it does that would spoil the movie, so I'm not gonna do that and just leave it there. All I'll say is that I thought this was really incredible from a technical standpoint. The performances are reason enough to check it out, but it is not an easy watch, and I certainly have no urge to revisit it ever again. It's definitely the most accurate and devastating depiction of, aging and death on film out of all the devastating films that I've seen recently about this. And I think that's something worth recognizing and appreciating, but it's also, not a movie that I want to ever think about or watch again. Then I finished the month with Showgirls, because why not? After my opening shots video, I just had to check this out, and man, did I enjoy it. I'm gonna keep it simple here. On its own, I do think it is just a really fun movie. I had a blast watching it and thought some of it was hilarious. I didn't think it was ever so bad it's good. I didn't even really think it was camp. I thought it was just a really well-made satire. The pool scene is incredible. That is what the movies were made for. I don't know. Part of me is like, I'm not sure I would appreciate the film the way I do if not for the endless praise it gets in online circles. Part of me wants to say the things people have to say about Showgirls is more interesting and well said than whatever the film is doing itself. But I also think even if I went into this completely blind, I still can safely say I thought it was pretty well made and that there's more going on here than just boobs and cringy performances. But at the same time, the film never acts like it's something highbrow or pretentious, and I really like that about it. It feels like a beast of its own. For that, I do not think this deserves the hate that it got, and I actually think it's a really great film that I'll probably watch again. I've also been watching How To with John Wilson. Seriously, such an incredible TV show. I'm so sad this is the last season because it really feels like it's at its peak right now. And hey, that's what I watched this month. And as always, thanks for watching. Go watch these films and form your own opinion, and if you're looking for something to watch next month, you should check out this week's sponsor, Mubi. Mubi is a curated streaming service dedicated to elevating great cinema from all around the globe. From iconic directors to emerging auteurs, there's always something new to discover. With Mubi, each and every film is hand-selected by its team of curators. Discover the best of cinema at your fingertips, streaming anytime, anywhere. Man, I've been hooked on Mubi lately. I'm not kidding. Like, that's how I watched them more. I literally was not in the mood for something that heavy, but Mubi just has that, like, magnetic pull, you know what I mean? Where I was like, if they're saying it's worth checking out, then I'm gonna do this right now. But if you're looking for something lighter, they did just go live with their Almodovar retrospective just a few days ago. It's got a ton of his most celebrated films, and I highly recommend checking it out. You can try Mubi free for 30 days at mubi.com/Karsten. That's mubi.com/Karsten for a whole month of amazing cinema for free.